Welcome, Crafty Friends. Annie Collins here for Pajama Crafter Stamp. Today we're going to create this beach-themed trifold card. Let me go over quickly the products I use. For this card, I'm going to use 4 stamp sets. That's right, 4 stamp sets. And 2 of our paper pads right here, these 2. I'll go over each thing separately. So for our first stamp set, it's called Ham It Up. And I stamped and colored and fussy cut all of our images. So I'm using the 2 little piggies here, the umbrella. I stamped 2 of the palm trees and the accessories here. The little bucket, the shovel, the sunscreen over here. And I also did the surfboard, but you'll see that later on in one of the other images. The only thing I didn't use from this were the sentiments and the ice cream cone. Let me put all these images over here out of our way so we can move on to the next one. The next stamp set is called Dog Days of Summer. I used a few of the pups from here. I used the little husky guy, this little guy here in the floaty, and the one sitting in his chair with the little flip-flops right down here. Oh, I did use the accessories from here, which is the beach towel and the sunscreen as well. So there we have it. Everything else we didn't use. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. I'll have to admit it. It's just the pups having fun. The other one is the Hippo Hooray. I used 2 of the hippos. This one here, and there's the little surfboard that from the hammock. And she comes like this. Well, I'm calling her she, but anyway, I drew in her little bikini. I did the same thing, drew the little bikini in, and I drew some glasses and added it to this little hippo here. That's it. I wanted to incorporate the sitting one. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't figure it out, but it's okay. From the Bog Frog, I'm using the sun, the little frame, and our sentiment, which reads "Fun in the Sun." And you just stamp this the frame, and then you stamp your sentiment inside. Fussy cut it. I use it on the same blue cardstock we'll be using throughout. I drew this little boom box myself. Fussy cut it out. Colored and fussy cut it out. Nothing major, just rectangle shapes and such. Those are all the images we'll be using. From my stash, I die cut a few little seashells and a little bit of seagrass to add to our scenes. The 2 pads we'll be using are the Savanna neutrals, and I'm using the pale blue here, stripy, and that spotted tan. From the Dino celebration, I'll be using these 2 blues here. The 2 blues will be our water. The other one will have from the Savanna neutrals will be our sky and our sand. So I will have it listed for you below. I know I went off a lot of stuff. All right, here's our sky. That's from the Savanna neutrals. And this is our sand. And I used some dies from my stash to cut these up for us to use. So here's the 2 blues. I'm showing you the other side is all dinosaur themed. There we go. I have everything ready, pre-cut for us. For our cards, I have some white panels here that we're going to adhere everything to. We're going to build our scenes on. And I used a arch die for this as well as these blue cardstock panels. This is going to be the base of our card. And we'll layer the scene on top like so, having a nice little edge all the way around. And it'll look so nice. We're going to start by creating the base of our cards and then let it sit. We're going to need the arch panels. I cut enough so that we have front and back. It'll make sense here in a second. So you need a total of 6 if you're following along. And then I cut 2 pieces of cardstock in the same blue. These are 2 by 2, and then I scored them in half at 1 inch. You're going to need 2 of these. These will be our hinges for our card. You can use a long strip if you prefer. I just like the 2 little pieces, quick and easy. It'll all make sense in a second. I know I'm rambling off a lot of information, but you'll see. All right, we'll start with creating the base of our card. Let me clear all my little images and put them back in my tray so I don't lose them. I don't drop anybody or anything, especially those tiny little pieces, like the sunscreen and the pail and such. All right, let me grab that. Once I have those in my tray, I can move my tray over. We're going to work with our base. So I'll need my glue. I'm going to bring in my cupcake glue holder and have my glue ready to go. These cupcake glue holders come in a variety of colors. I have the teal one with the chocolate cake because teal's my favorite color and chocolate cake is one of my favorites. Okay, so I'm going to show you. I'm using one of the panels and then I'll glue the hinge onto it and then glue the other side of the hinge to the other panel, leaving a small gap in between so that it works. I'm going to adhere this mountainside fold up, meaning it's folding that the fold is coming towards me. All right, so I'm trying to use the grid lines on my mat to make sure everybody's straight. That's the key thing here, making sure that the bottom edges of your panels are straight and leaving a tiny gap in between. See, we created a hinge. We're going to do the same thing. Now, if you feel more comfortable flipping it over, that's fine, but your hinge won't be covered. So now I'm going to place my hinge valley side down, meaning the edge of my hinge is facing away from me. Again, making sure the panels are straight and there's that little gap. That's the magic of this. All you need is some straight and a little gap so that it folds easily. Now I'm going to make sure I line it up. I'm using the markings on my grid lines to make sure everybody's straight and to make sure that my hinge goes across the same. Once that's set, there we go. We've created the hinges and make sure everybody's even and smooth. And that's how your card will be displayed. Now to cover the hinges and to keep everything looking beautiful, I'm going to adhere the next 3 panels right on top of those. This will just hide our hinges and it'll add more stability to our card because we're standing it up and we're going to pile so many things on it. We need it to be nice and sturdy. This is heavyweight blue cardstock. That's what I chose to use. Since you're putting so many layers, you don't need it to be as heavy. Mine is 110-pound cardstock, I believe, or 100-pound. I think it's 100-pound, actually. But you can use a lighter weight if necessary, 80, 65. It depends on how much sturdiness you want. So once we have this glued on, making sure everybody's covered and all the edges remain the same, I stack it all together and I'm going to put 2 heavy acrylic blocks from my stash on it just to hold it, make sure everybody adheres. And now I'm going to speed up our process here a little bit because we're going to create each panel individually. These are each going to be a scene. So we're going to start with our first scene. I adhere the sky, that's from the Savanna Neutrals. The sand, which is also from the Savanna Neutrals. Get that on there. And then the 2 blue ones are going to be from the Dino pack. So I'm going to go through and gather all the little images I need for this scene. Okay, now I'm going to put the lighter part of our water down first because if the ocean comes in, it creates like a lighter looking, like you get that foamy, So you want to get that on first and then the darker. Now I can start building my scene. I'm going to tuck this little palm tree here in the sand. I'm bringing in a little grass cluster because I live here in Florida and we have like little, I don't know what you call it, little grass clusters in the sand dunes here. So I wanted to make sure I put that in our beach scene. I have my little pup and his ball, and then our little hammy guy ready to run out with his little floaties. It's so cute. There we go. And then I put my sentiment. First scene is done other than a few little seashells. And again, that is optional. We're moving on to scene number 2. We create the same process: sky, sand, water. There we go. And I just let it overhang and cut it all off at the end. Is easier. You can pre-cut this down, each one to fit perfectly so you get that nice edge all the way around from the die. But I went the easy route of just let me lay it out and trim off the excess. There we go. And now I'm going to create our scene. For my beach towel, I cut a tiny piece of the Nantucket paper. That's the only paper I brought in that I didn't show. It was a little scrap that I had. And I went ahead and placed that down for our beach towel. It has like little crabs and things on it. It's too cute. So I'm putting the accessories down that, the little sunscreen and so forth. Put this little guy in the water, his little floaty right there. And that scene is done, other than a few seashells that I will add later on. We're moving on to the next scene. We're going to do the same process, sky, sand, water, and then we'll put the little critters on. So like I mentioned, all week long, the design team's creating beach-related scenes. So be sure to check them out on social, Instagram, Facebook, but of course here on the channel as well as on the blog, you'll have tons of inspiration, and they'll be using a variety of stamps and dies from the Pajama Crafters collections. So I put our little umbrella, a little guy underneath the umbrella, a little pail. There we go. We're going to assume that's his, but if you come to the beach here in Florida, you'll find random pails and shovels throughout the beach with no one claiming it to be theirs. I swear at the end of the day, the lifeguards must have a wonderful collection of pails. All right, so I put my little girl ready to go. I'm putting her toes in the water, which I added some nail polish to her toes. I just used a gel pen to put little dots. Both of the hippos, I did the same, right? So a few seashells wherever I feel it needed a little seashell. And now our scenes are all done. There we go. And now we're going to adhere our scenes into each of the panels. I'll start with the first scene, which is the front of our card. And all I'm doing is making sure I have a nice edge all the way around. I'm holding it down to give it a second to catch. There we go. And then finally, my last scene right there. Now I'll scooch it over and you can see better. The goal is to make sure that our sand stays the same, so does our water and so forth. And that's how you display it standing up. But for you to better see it, I want to leave it flat. I love how each little panel has its own little scene, but it makes a cohesive scene all the way across. Sort of like a cryptic, that's what we call it. Not cryptic, triptych in art. All right, so we used the Dino Celebration, the Savanna Neutral, these two pads, a little bit of Nantucket. So I will link Nantucket down for you. The Bog Frog, I used the sun and the sentiment in the frame. The Hippo Hooray, the two hippos, there they are. And I gave them the bikinis. I just drew them in and I drew some glasses in. You can make them boys or girls. Since we have a lot of boys, I wanted to make some girls. And then from the dog days of summer, I used the three pups that you see here, the one under the umbrella, the one in the floaty, and then the one, where is he? The little other one. There he is, right there. The little husky. From the Ham It Up, I used all the accessories, the palm trees, and the two little hammy guys right there. Super cute. Don't forget I used the surfboard. You wish you can add to any of the other, or just put them in the background, however you would like. I will have everything I used here in the description box below with affiliate links that do not cost you anything. They just help me out. Now, let me know in the comments, do you like a trifold card? Have you ever done a trifold card where you create a large scene like this, or individual scenes, whichever? And would you be interested in me doing another one? I'm giving you a quick little close-up look of each one, but have you ever tried it? Let me know. If not, if you don't like them or it's not something you are interested in, also let me know. Just would like to know so that I can create better content for you. I hope you like this. Don't forget to check out the blog, the video channel here for more inspiration for Beach Week and other inspiration from lots of other stamp sets that we create. And follow us on the blog, here on the channel, the socials on, Instagram, TikTok, and all those, so that you can find more inspiration from our design team. Thank you for being here. Here's another look at our card. I hope you found some inspiration.